to be fair and to be honest, but in a light that's not just outlandish, just for the sake of making a name for yourself. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting. Our situation's gotten, I can honestly say it's gotten better and better and better over the years because we've developed that relationship with the clubs and that trust. And it was slow to come, but I think we're in a good spot now. But I can definitely see there's a lot of challenges out there, especially as the media business changes. And, you don't always know who you're answering to.
I would just say don't be a fan. I mean, that's number one for anything. And I think sometimes in college that might get lost a little because you just do. I mean, I want to know you to win. Why wouldn't I? It was only better for me as a writer. And, you do have a little school pride, but don't be a fan, especially when you get out. And fans still don't get that. And they get it, I think, to even less of a degree now, maybe than they did in the old days. Is just do your job, report, make sure you have fun. I mean, it's always good to have fun in your job, but, I only care about teams that win if it affects me personally. Yes, it's my job. But that's the number one thing. If you want to be a fan, don't be a reporter. And I would say that to anyone here that if you want to be a sports writer just because you love sports or you love a team, then this probably isn't the right job for you.
Or you won't be a fan.
Yeah, you won't be. Or I would never want to cover the Steelers or Pirates because I'm a Pirates and Steelers fan. I would end up hating the franchises and hating every single player because that happens.
No, see, I disagree with that a little to a certain degree. Like, I grew up in Cleveland. I love the Cleveland Browns. As bad as they are, I love the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm all right with the Indians. But, I feel like if I'm ever charged with covering, I can also separate. It's my job to separate Terrance, fan, from,
No, I understand. You're absolutely right. You can do that.
You can do that. I mean, and you should be able to do that. If you can't separate the two, I mean, then you have a problem. But and understand that being a fan would be a huge disservice. I mean, if you bring your fanship to the table, to your reporting, then it is a problem. But I think you can like a team and help. I'll be honest. I mean, I've covered Notre Dame football. I've covered the Houston Texans, the New Orleans Saints. Now, after a while, you start to like those guys because it's kind of personal. But at the same time, I can separate my liking those guys on a personal level from, hey, if you don't get it done on the field, or if you screw up in some meaningful way, I have to deal with that objectively. And I'm going to do that. So.
Right, you don't want to get to the point where you hate sports.
Right.
Because we know people, and I can talk about him along with the school as a sports writer. It basically seems like he hated sports. You never want to get to that point. You always, like I said, enjoy what you do. And like you said, you root for plays, you root for players, you root for good columns.
Exactly. And then they get upset when they fall apart, too. Like,
man, I had this.
But kind of like elaborate a little bit on what John says is, like, if you think you want to be a sports writer because you're a fan of a team or whatever, it has to be more than that. If that's it, you're not gonna make it, or you're just not gonna. And that's not to say, I'm speaking of that in terms of, you could maybe, if you're a huge Cleveland Browns fan, you could probably be, and you're smart enough to, to carry water. You could certainly write about them objectively, maybe more objectively than a lot of people can. But that can't be it. It won't last for you. You know what I mean? It won't. Like, I'm fans of sports. I'm fans of compelling stories, like the people, like the different textures of it. And that's why I do it. It's not because of the teams I like. And I still have teams I like and I care about, but I care about them in a much different way than I did before I got into this. It's not, like I tell people all the time about this is kind of later, becoming a sports writer, at some point it's kind of like, everybody, I'm going to date myself here a little bit. Anybody seen The movie The Matrix? Anybody? Okay. The red and green pill type thing? At some point that's what it's like, and you can't go backwards. I will never watch sports the way I did before I was a sports writer. It changes the way you watch your teams. It changes the way you interact with your friends too, because they watch games like a fan. I watch games looking for storylines. Oh yeah, I can't change it. It doesn't turn off in my head.
I'm a Pirates fan. I haven't watched a meaningful game since I was 13. I was really into it.
Yeah.
I was looking for storylines.
I can tell you, like I said, maybe it's just me. It changed the way I watch games. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, I enjoy games still. I just enjoy them in a different way.
Jay, I watch games and I go, man, I feel bad for that guy on that game.
That's right.
Or, you know, it's quadruple overtime. Boy, what time is that guy?
That's funny.
There seems to be a difference in opinion when it comes to how free-flowing a journalist, sports or not, is with their own personal beliefs or stance regarding a certain issue. So how tight-lipped or free-flowing should a sports journalist really be
With personal beliefs?
with personal beliefs, whether it's fandom or even politically?
Well, that's a good question. That's a loaded question. I don't know. I think that I will say, maybe this answers that question, but I will say that it seems to me increasingly in this business, it's more and more opinion driven as far as content. There's so many sources for information on the internet. I mean, I can go a million places to find out what happened in last night's game, and I found that it just seems, and I'm just spitballing here, but it seems to me that opinion-based pieces and personality-driven pieces maybe have more value than ever because it's something different, or it's this person's spin, it's this person's brand. That's a term used in this industry quite a bit. Sometimes frustratingly, branding. But I mean, it's true because I'm going back to baseball. I mean, Tom Verducci is great at what he does. I'm going to go see what Tom Verducci has to say about this issue. I'm going to see what Buster Olney has to say about this. These people are brands, even independent of where they work. So I think there's a lot of that. But I don't know, political beliefs, all that. I think there's still always going to be a line there that you don't want to cross when it comes to getting, too personal. But if there's a topic that plays into it, you could be. Maybe things have changed. Maybe it has become more.
Well, the John Greenberg brand is not. I get in trouble sometimes on Twitter because I am like, and as people that follow me will know, a little too free flowing. I would have gotten a lot of trouble in college with that. But you do have to watch yourself, man, because sometimes you think no one's reading what you're, like as far as the teams and things like that, and you can say stuff that can get you in trouble, and you might do a little apologizing. But you should have a. Politically, I mean, you don't want to get into that too much because there's no. I mean, arguing over politics is the biggest waste of time with people of different, of vastly different views. You're never going to get anywhere. But you should have some. I guess in my sense, I have some things I stand for. Like when it comes to like stadium financing, I don't think the city should ever pay for it. Some people could say that's political, but that's something where I believe, and that affects how I write. And when I write a news story, I try to be fair to both sides, but that does influence my writing. So I mean, you do have to stand for something. And that goes back to what I said before about being well-rounded intellectually and just what you know about. So you do want to have some beliefs, and I guess that goes with like what you believe of pitching. In baseball, what you believe about sabermetrics, what you believe about defensive philosophies in football. Always believe in something.
I agree with John. I mean, we all come to the table with certain beliefs. And when Lindsay said political, I didn't necessarily think politics. I thought more in terms of, like, as an African American, one of the things that I'm always in tune to, because I recognize it, I live with it every day, is sometimes the lack of diversity, in the workplace. And for sports, a lot of times it's the lack of diversity in coaching. You don't see, you don't see a lot of black coaches, especially at the college level. You don't see a lot of black coaches even in the NFL. NFL is starting to decline a little bit in the NBA and college basketball as well. And I'm not afraid to deal with those issues. I mean, I'm a black man, and I know that a lot of people are going to look at that and say, well, because you're black, you're playing a race issue. No, I'm working on a legitimate story, and I'm not going to be afraid to deal with it because you think one way or you think another way. No, I'm going to deal with it in an objective way. I'm going to tell both sides, but I'm not afraid to deal with the issues. And I think that we all have to be able to deal with the issues. But I shouldn't have to be the only one doing it. You guys as well. I mean, you know what's right. You know what's wrong. You feel like there's something that's right or wrong, you deal with it. Don't be afraid of dealing with that. But now, in terms of religion and just true politics, I don't know if that has any place in what we do as sports writers. Now, if I was a city hall guy or something like that, maybe I would have some some stronger feelings, or maybe some of those politics might come into play. But as long as you deal with it in a journalistic, objective way, I don't really have a huge problem.
I think the bigger issue right now, as John was talking about, is Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the social media type things. That I think a lot of people look at it as personal accounts, and the reality is you're still a reporter. That's how people are going to view you. So if you put something up there that people are going to look at, they're going to view that through the prism of what this reporter's biases might be. And Jay, you can tell me, but I know at one point with AP, we had someone that was policing for us at AP because Mary wouldn't let stuff go up. She would call people up and tell them to take it down. I don't know if we're still doing that or not.
Well, I was going to say, at the AP, we have pretty explicit policies about what you can post on Twitter and Facebook and all that. And like whether you're a political writer, a sports writer, if you work as a secretary at the AP, it's like, don't do it. Just don't do it anywhere. And
we get memos all the time about events that come up like Sandy Hook or any of those kinds of things, and they say, don't put any tweets up about
we get that too. To answer a little bit of this question, you have to be careful. We know of instances where people tweeted something, got in trouble.
A friend of mine got basically demoted, almost fired.
Yeah, you have to be careful in how you present yourself on social media. Like, I have strong political views about things all the time.